Hi, everyone. Welcome to your practice today. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe. And let's get started. So find yourself in a comfortable seated position. I do have a pillow, a belt, and a couple blocks. If you don't have any blocks, that's fine. You can use a rolled up towel or some books, anything that you have around your home to make the practice a little bit more comfortable. So let's come into that tall way of sitting, our seated mountain pose. We're drawing the shoulders up and back over the hips, tighten up through the belly a little bit, just to support that upright position of the spine. And let's turn the palms to face up and take a few moments here. You can close the eyes if that feels comfortable as you begin to kind of watch your breath as it moves in and out of your body. And then let's start to find our Ujjayi breath, breathing in and out through the nose if that's open and comfortable. Feeling the breath in and out of the lower belly region. And then let's add that soothing sound to our breath. It's just a very gentle sound, loud enough to capture the attention of your mind. And as we take a few more rounds of breath here, just noticing how the body's doing today. Notice how the mind's doing. And it's supposed to be a little warm this week, so please adjust accordingly. Feel free to modify or skip anything that doesn't feel good. Take breaks and water as needed. And if you do feel any unusual symptom, please stop immediately and seek medical care. Let's draw the palms of the hands together at our heart center. And if you'd like to set an intention or a dedication for your practice, go ahead and do so. And then let's open the eyes if they're closed. Namaste. Great to practice with you today. Let's inhale to circle those arms out and up. And then exhale, hands to the heart. And then just a couple more times as we slowly start to begin our practice, feeling nice opening for the chest, a little warm up for the shoulders. Modify if you need to. Make sure the joints are happy. And then hands to the heart. Let's change the crossing of the legs if the legs are crossed. Hands onto the thighs. And on the next inhale, little seated cow pose, little arch in the spine. And then as you exhale, round through the spine, pull the belly in into your cat pose, feeling a nice stretch there. So inhale, seated cow pose, get the little bit of lift, and then exhale, round. And then just one more time, deep breath in, warming up through the spine and through the core, and then exhale. Let's come back to that tall way of sitting. Let's come into an easy twist. So take an inhale as you lengthen through the spine, and then exhale, twist in one direction. And then inhale back to center, exhale over to the other side. Starting to feel the work of the sideways. And then one more time on each side. Inhale to come to center and sit up tall. Exhales to twist from the navel up. And then inhale back to center and exhale over to the other side, looking to a comfortable point. And then let's draw ourselves back to center. You can either place your fingertips back behind you or interlace the fingers, if that's okay, on the shoulders and draw the shoulders back, really getting a nice stretch through the chest. And we're not looking too much for an arch in the spine, so keep pulling the rib cage in and the belly in. We're looking more for this opening of the chest. And you can lift the arms a little bit higher if that feels comfortable to stretch things out. Maybe the gaze is up, or maybe it's forward. And then let's slowly release. Let's go into a little bit of core work. So let's draw those knees together. I'll give you the side view, and let's come into our boat pose. So plant the feet onto your mat. And if you do have a block or even a pillow, you can draw the pillow or block in between the inner thighs if that's comfortable. And you'll just separate your feet. Keep the feet the same distance apart as the knees. So that gentle squeeze of your pillow or block in between the thighs will sit up tall and then lean it back. And then maybe fingertips can stay behind the thighs, or maybe you're extending those arms forward. So this first round is just an exploratory round to see how the core is doing, how the lower back is doing, especially at any time. If you need to come up a little bit higher, use your hands for support, or even take a break, feel free to do so. So every day our body's going to be a little bit different, even the lower back. So adjust accordingly. Take another round of breath here. And then let's place our hands onto our legs to pull ourselves up. And then let's draw our hands back behind us. Fingertips can either point towards you or away, and then we'll start to open up through the chest. So we'll keep our bottom down onto the mat for this first round. Find that lift of the chest up towards the ceiling. Nice stretch. Breathing here. But feel the work of the muscles of the upper back as you squeeze those shoulder blades a little bit towards each other. And we're still getting some length in the spine. And then let's slowly walk those hands back forward. You can start with the hands underneath the thighs. Inhale to sit up tall. Exhale, hinge it back. And maybe fingertips behind the legs, or maybe you're extending your arms forward. And let's do a little twist to the right. Feel the work of this sideways. Still feel that energy to get that chest lifted and extend through the spine. And then let's draw the hands through center and over to the left. So just a little bit of a twist. Find your Ujjayi breath here. And then let's come back to center, hands onto the legs to pull yourself up, maybe a little round through the spine, a little stretch for the back if that feels good. And then walk the hands back behind you once again. Draw those shoulders back. And then option one is to do the same thing we just did before, opening up through the chest. Option two, if you want a little bit more, start to lift the hips off of the mat. And if you do have a block or a pillow or a towel between the inner legs, feel a gentle squeeze there. Position of the head is wherever feels good. And then let's gently release down. So let's come back into our boat pose. Inhale to lift, exhale, hinge it back any amount. Maybe arms extend forward, maybe start to find your balance. And breathe here. So if you do have a pillow or a block in between those inner thighs, feel that gentle squeeze, so energizing through those legs. Still find that extension of the spine. Find your Ujjayi breath. Remember to make any adjustments to make the practice more relaxing or more energizing. So feel free to change the position of the arms if you want a little bit more work. And then let's slowly pull ourselves back up. Draw those hands back behind you. Shoulders drop back. Maybe you're staying with the bottom on your mat, or maybe you're starting to lift up into reverse tabletop pose. And then breathing here. Find that work of the legs, the muscles of the back of the body to lift, but only lifting to a comfortable height for the stretch of the chest. And then let's slowly release it on down. Extend your legs forward. Remove the item from in between the inner thighs if there is one. Just set it off to the side. And then we'll separate those feet about hip width distance apart, coming into a very easy forward fold, more of an exploratory forward fold, just to see how the body's doing, how the back of the legs are doing. So you can round a little bit through the spine to stretch out the lower back, and then very slowly you can crawl your fingertips forward. Mild sensation only, so we're not coming into any deep type of stretch here. It's just to see how the backs of the legs are doing, how the back's doing. If you want to add a little bit of movement, you can, maybe a little side to side sway if that feels good. And then let's walk our hands back towards us. Let's start to cross at the legs and then come forward onto our hands and knees. Remember, forearms on the mat is an option. You can even put blocks or books underneath to give a little bit more height. Just make sure they're even. And just a couple rounds of our cow cat just to get a stretch. So inhale into your cow pose. Exhale, round it into your cat. And just a couple more times, feeling out, opening things up. And last time. And then let's come back to neutral tabletop pose. We'll go into our balancing cat just to make sure that the core is engaged and ready for the rest of our poses. Let's start to extend the right leg, either toes down or a leg can be at the height of the hip, and then the left arm. And take about 3 rounds of breath here. Enjoying all those shakes, all those wiggles. Keep pointing those right toes down towards the floor. Shoulders draw back, belly pulled in. Notice if you're starting to overarch or sag a little bit. Keep pulling, especially that lower part of the belly in to support the lower back. And then let's come back to center, reset, and over to the other side. I always like to have a balancing cat in the practice to really kind of wake up the core. Find neutral position in the spine as best as you can. Notice if the hips are, one hip is starting to move out of line with the other, and see if you can really engage that lower belly to keep those hips as even as you can. One last round of breath here. And then let's slowly release hand down, release knee down, and sit it back into child's pose. And remember, child's pose, that pose of rest, but also you can add a little bit of movement if that feels good. Maybe it's a little sway left and right. Maybe you're walking the hands over to one side to stretch out the sideways. So feel free to add any little movement that makes your body feel good. And then from child's pose, let's walk our hands back towards us. So we're sitting on our heels. And if this position doesn't feel good on the knees, feel free to come back into that comfortable seated position that we started our class in. So feel free to make that adjustment. Taking a moment here. Let's stack those shoulders over the hips. Belly is engaged. Let's turn the palms of the hands to face up. So just taking a few deep rounds of breath here. Noticing how the body's doing. And then let's start to walk our hands forward and make our way into your inversion of choice, either puppy pose, downward facing dog if you're ready, or even child's pose if you'd prefer not to come into an inversion. So whatever feels good to your body, make your way there. And then you can start to pedal through the legs, maybe a little shift of the hips. Remember, finding any little movement that makes your body feel good and open and ready for the rest of our practice. Still thinking about that position of the shoulders. Shoulders draw back towards those hips. Pointy parts of the elbows start to point down towards the mat. But find that through that external rotation at the shoulders. Use the muscles along the upper back, the lats to support you in the pose, and press the weight back and up. You can maintain a nice bend in the knees if you need to. One last round of breath here. And then from here, let's slowly release those knees down to the mat. Draw the knees together and let's curl those toes under. Get a stretch through the soles of the feet, through the toes. Try to get all 10 toes to curl under. Maybe you're staying here. If it is okay to get a deeper stretch in those feet, maybe you're starting to walk those hands back towards you as you release those hips down onto the heels. And you're just placing any amount of weight that feels like a mild, comfortable sensation of a stretch. So if you need to stay forward on your hands, you're welcome to, or maybe you're able to comfortably sit on your heels. And breathe here. Last round of breath here. Remember, feel free to come out, but if you can hold that easy sensation of a stretch in the feet, give the feet a little love. And then let's start to walk our hands back forward again and come into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, let's step the feet a little bit closer together and sweep that right leg back and up, and then bend the knee and open the hip, maybe a few circles of the foot, a couple times in one direction, then change that direction, and then maybe it's a turn of the knee in one direction, and then change the direction of that knee circle. And then let's start to straighten the right leg, still turning the hips over to the right, so feel a really nice stretch. And then let's slowly square the hips and set that right foot down right over to the other side. So left leg floats back and up, bend the knee, open the hip, a few turns of that foot. Being conscious of what the right foot is doing, what the right knee is doing. Make sure the right knee is still tracking towards the direction of the center of the toes. Change the direction of your foot circles if you haven't already. And then let's start to do a few circles with the knee. And then change the direction of the knee circles, and then lengthen that left leg, still turning those hips but not the shoulders, so shoulders point down, and then square the hips, set the left foot next to the right, release, knees down, and then sit it back towards your heels. If you can comfortably do it all the way, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, taking a moment here. And then while you're here, if your hands are not on your mat, you could do a little stretch for the hands. Remember, at any time, if you need to come onto the tops of the feet, you can. Feel free. And then let's walk it forward. Let's come back to our neutral tabletop pose and then walk the hand one hand length forward. Draw the shoulders slightly forward of the wrist. We'll take a couple moments, a few breaths here in our plank pose. If you'd like, you can curl the toes under and lift the knees coming into full plank. This depends on how you'd like your practice. Feel the squeeze of the core coming in to support the spine. And then let's slowly release onto our bellies. So draw the shoulders back, elbows stay alongside the body as you bend those elbows, trying to get the hips and the chest to reach the mat at the same time. But if they don't, that's fine too, as long as you're carefully coming down. And then let's inhale, come into our cobra pose. So it could just be a baby cobra, staying here for the exhale. And then if you want a little bit more, let's lift the hands and draw the arms into a cactus shape. Find that the elbows are drawing back, the shoulders are drawing back, working the muscles of the upper back. And then go ahead and release those hands down, elbows in. We'll peel ourselves up, curl the toes under, and press it into downward facing dog. Just taking a moment here, pedaling it out if you need to, or just finding stillness. And then as you're ready, let's slowly walk the hands back to the feet, coming into a forward fold at the back of the mat, making sure the feet are at least hip bone distance or a little bit wider. And then if you'd like, you can slide your hands underneath your feet, or you could just place the hands on top of the feet, bending the knees as much as you need. Getting a little counter stretch for those wrists, maybe releasing the head down, feeling the support of your legs underneath your chest. So we're not just randomly hanging down with no support, but our lower half of the body is supporting the weight of the upper half of the body. And we'll take just a couple more rounds of breath here. And then let's slowly release the hands. Bend those knees. Let's slow roll it up the spine using the hands, walking the hands up the body for support, really engaging, squeezing the lower belly so the lower back doesn't have to do any work. And then when you get to the top, let's circle or draw those arms forward and up as you inhale. And then exhale, hands to the heart. Let's take a moment here. Feel that you're really grounding your feet into your mat, into the ground. So as you press down, we're getting that lift up to lift the chest. And then let's circle those arms out and up. And then take one hand to the opposite wrist and exhale, release the shoulders down. Inhale to lengthen, and then exhale, we'll side bend over to one side. And if you'd like, you can even bend the knee of the leg that we're side bending towards to get a deeper side bend, but just something comfortable. And if it feels good to look up towards the ceiling, you can, or find a comfortable position with the neck. Keep moving the shoulders down. And then let's upright and go over to the other side. Take an inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, easy side bend over to the other side. And then maybe bending the knee, getting an extra little stretch if that feels comfortable. Keep moving the shoulders down. And then let's slowly upright, release those arms out and then down. We're still standing at the back of the mat. And let's come right into chair pose. So maybe it's just a high chair or a stool pose, finding that the weight is more towards the heels, seeing all 10 toes, taking a moment here, feeling the squeeze of the legs, the inner legs, finding that Ujjayi breath. Maybe sinking down a little bit more if you'd like. Make sure all 10 toes can wiggle around. Take another inhale and then exhale. Let's fold it forward, coming into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Draw the heart forward. Hands can be on the shins for support. If your hands are on the legs, press firmly into the hands. Straighten the arms to really get some nice extension out through the spine. And then next, exhale. Let's walk it forward and come into plank pose, top of a push-up. Knees can be up or down, your choice. Just taking a moment here. So feel the weight of the body moving down, but the strength of your body pressing into the mat to get that lift, trying to find as neutral position in the spine as you can. Openness through the chest, so we're not rounding through the spine or collapsing through the chest. We're strong both in the front and the back of the body. And then maybe with the knees down or the knees lifted, that little shift forward. Keep the shoulders drawing back, elbows alongside the body as you slowly release down in the manner that is most safe and comfortable for you. And then plant the tops of the feet into the mat for Cobra. We'll lift any amount. And maybe you're lifting the hands, maybe you're drawing the arms out kind of into a cactus shape or kind of a W shape where you're drawing your elbows back towards you. Just taking a moment here, strengthening out the back of the body, but feel the front of the belly still engaging, still working to preserve that length of the lower spine. And then slowly release those hands down, elbows in. Maybe you're coming through a plank pose, knees up or down, your choice, and then downward facing dog. Taking another full round of breath here. Once again, feeling the weight of the body move down towards the mat, towards the earth, but we're starting, the strength of our bodies are pressing, especially pressing into the hands, pressing the weight back towards the feet. And then soft bend in the knees. Let's walk the hands back to the feet. Come into a supported forward fold, bending those knees, releasing the head down. You can still draw those hands underneath the feet or on the tops of the feet, or maybe you're interlacing the fingers and drawing the arms up and over, only if that feels good on the shoulders. And you're still bending those knees so that you can rest the upper half of the body over the lower. So we're not just dangling without any support. And then if you have your fingers interlaced, let's slowly release. Inhale, halfway lift, pressing into the lower legs to get that extension of the spine. Exhale, release, sink those hips, bend those knees. Find your chair pose. Remember, adjust the feet anytime as you see fit. Feel the squeeze of your bottom of the legs. Another inhale here, and then exhale, hands to the heart. Take a deep breath in. Exhale out the mouth. And then let's come back into chair. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, fold it forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Find that length in the spine. And then exhale, let's walk it forward into plank, knees up or down. Shift the shoulders slightly forward to the wrists. With that strength of the body, let's release all the way down to your belly. Inhale into Cobra. Maybe lift the hands off of the mat. Maybe draw the arms into a W or cactus and feel the work of the back of the body. And then let's place those hands back. Maybe passing through plank and then downward facing dog. And then from downward facing dog, let's inhale to float the right leg back and up. And then as you exhale, round through the spine, elbow as high up into the chest and the rib cage as comfortable as you shift forward. And hold here for one round of breath. Really feel the muscles of the side waist of the belly engage. And then step or carry that right foot to the inside of the right hand. Lower the left knee down to the mat. And then we'll draw the shoulders back. Find that lift of the chest. Maybe use the hands to upright. Hands can stay on that right thigh, or arms can reach forward and up. And find that lift of the base of the body. So we're not just sinking down as far as we can towards the mat. We're finding our mild sensation of a stretch, and we'll take another inhale here. And then as you exhale, draw ourselves forward. Left hand down, right arm reaches back and up. Let's come into a twist. Melt the shoulders down. Hug those outer hips in. Right thigh stays parallel to the long edge of the mat. And then let's finish that circle with that right arm forward and down. Curl those left toes under. And we'll move back the same way we came forward. So really squeeze the belly. You can round through the spine, and we'll pick that foot up as best as you can. You can put the toes down if you want, and then reach it back and up. And then release that right foot down. Let's move over to the other side, left leg back and up. And then exhale, round through the spine, start to draw yourself forward into plank, but really feel the left thigh draw in, feel the squeeze of the sideways, lots of work here. And then when you're ready, step or carry to the inside of the left foot and release. Right knee down. Stack the left knee atop the left ankle, track it towards the center of the toes. And then when you're ready, come on up. Feel the lift of the base of the body. And then maybe staying here with the hands onto the thighs, or if you want a little bit more, arms up, shoulders down. Let's take another inhale. And then exhale, hinge forward at the hips, right hand down. Maybe you can use a support underneath your right hand, and then we'll sweep the left arm back and up, move the shoulders down, and then hug the outer hip in. Left thigh stays parallel along the long edge of the mat. And then let's circle that left arm forward and down. Coming out the same way we came in. Curl those right toes under. Plant those palms. Engage to the belly. Round through the spine. And then start to lift that left foot off of the mat. And then reach it back and up, three-legged dog. And let's set left foot back down onto the mat. Take an inhale, lift those heels nice and high, stretch it out, and then exhale, release knees down. Sit it back into child's pose, maybe a little stretch for the wrist if that feels good. And then as you're ready, let's return to downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg to lift. Exhale, round through the spine. The thigh comes in, engage to the belly, and then step or carry it to the inside of the right hand. Remember, it doesn't make it all the way there. That's fine. Option 1 is to lower the left knee down to the mat. Option 2, if you want a little bit more, keep the left knee lifted. And then we'll come into high crescent pose with whatever option of the arms you'd like to take. Hands can stay on the right thigh if you'd like, or if you want a little bit more, let's lift on up. Breathing here, steadying, finding as neutral position in the spine as best as you can, melting the tailbone down and bending that back knee if you need to. Just find your mild sensation of a stretch and we'll work on the balance. Take an inhale here. And then as you exhale, let's draw the hands to the heart. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hinge forward about 45 degrees and come into a twist. So either hands just along the outside of the right leg as the shoulders in the chest, a little of the ribs turn to the right, or if you can go a little bit lower, and if you can keep the height of the heart above the height of the hips, then you can come into a full prayer twist with the palms of the hands pressing towards each other. And then we'll slowly unwind. And we'll just take our hands down to the mat. Come out the same way we came in. So round through the spine, really engage to the core. Draw the right thigh as high up into the chest as you can. And then reach it up and back. And then set the right foot down. Over to the other side. Left leg floats back and up. Exhale, round through the spine. Left thigh as high into the chest as you can. As you shift forward into plank and then step or carry that left foot to the inside of the left hand, either right knee down or right knee lifted. Power through the legs as you rise on up, finding either your hands just staying on the left thigh or arms reach up and the shoulders move down. And we'll take a few rounds of breath here, making sure that left knee is in that proper position and even having a soft bend in that right knee if you need it. So we don't want to overstretch through that right hip flexor, right thigh. Find what is comfortable. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale to lengthen, and then exhale, hinge about 45 degrees, and then come into your twist. So maybe you're staying a little bit higher, especially if your feet are a little bit closer together. The more your feet are further apart, the further down you'll be able to go comfortably and safely. So find that little turn of the shoulders and the chest, a little bit of the ribs. Maybe you're coming into your prayer twist, looking to wherever is comfortable to you. Feeling the work of those strong legs, making sure that front knee is still tracking towards the center of the toes. And then let's slowly unwind, just place the hands back down. And then start to round through the spine, pull that left thigh in, and then slowly move it back. Reach the left leg back and up, and then set. Left foot down. Let's lift those heels nice and high as you inhale. Exhale. Release. Knees down onto the mat. And then walking yourselves back to rest the hips onto the heels. And if you need to, you can always flatten the tops of the feet into the mat. Let's take one more round of breath here. And remember, if the knees don't like it, you can come into a more comfortable position. And then if your toes are curled under, let's release. Get a nice stretch. So we'll draw those inner legs together. If you are in a kneeling position, draw the hands back behind you. Open up the chest and the shoulders. So even if you are in a different seated position, you can still come up to this point of the pose. If you are in this kneeling position, you want a little bit more slowly start to lift the lower legs off of the mat. So getting a stretch for the fronts of the ankles, mild sensation only. Breathing here, and it's just up to you how far back you'd like to walk your hands. Think about lifting, get a nice opening for the chest, for the shoulders. And then as you're ready, let's slowly walk ourselves back forward. Inhale, let's draw those arms forward and up. And then exhale, interlace the fingers back behind the head if that feels good, or you can keep fingertips on the shoulders or very lightly behind the ears. Inhale, get a little lift, strong in the core. And then exhale, we'll just lean the head back into the hands. Find this nice opening for the shoulders. Make sure you're not overarching through the spine, so keep thinking about strong in that front part of the core. Deepen the breath. And then let's use our hands to slowly upright the head. And then release, hands draw down. Let's make our way back to downward facing dog. And then from our downward facing dog with the feet a little bit closer together, we'll inhale, right leg draws back and up any amount. And then as you exhale, shift forward into plank, right thigh into the chest as far as you can. And then step or carry that foot in between the hands. Set up for warrior two base. Spin the left heel down, heel to arch alignment, pull those hips underneath you. And as you're ready, if you need some assistance, you can use your hands to press your way up. And then we'll arrive in warrior two. And let's just do a little flow as we inhale to reverse our warrior, and then exhale into kind of a half side angle pose. So forearm onto the thigh. If you want to, you can reach a little bit further down. Inhale, reverse, and then exhale, side angle. And then one more time, inhale, reverse, and then exhale, side angle. Let's hold here for a moment. So from side angle, we're going to move into rainbow warrior. So we'll carefully take this top arm down, have a soft bend in that back knee as we reach for the floor and shift the weight to the back leg. And as we do that, we'll open the toes, the back toes out at an angle. And maybe you're lifting those front toes off of the mat, trying to keep a relatively flat back. Make sure that back knee doesn't go past the toes, so you'll feel a deep stretch in that front inner leg. And then let's bend both knees to come to center. Square all 10 toes to point towards the side of the mat. Inhale, get some length. And then exhale. Remember, you can keep a soft bend in the knees as much as you need to, releasing the head down. Hands can be on the mat, on your legs, even forearms onto the thighs if you need. Mild sensation of a stretch. And then soft bend in those knees. Let's start to walk it so we're facing towards the back of the mat, coming into a runner's lunge now with your left foot as your lead foot. Draw the hips back, right hand stays down, left arm reaches up to the ceiling, coming into a twist. And then let's take the left hand down, plant the palms, engage to the core as you slowly release it back, maybe up, and then down. And then staying here in downward facing dog, if you'd like a little bit more of your practice, let's flow through a vinyasa by shifting ourselves forward, lowering halfway or all the way to your belly. Inhale into your back bend, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Hanging out in downward facing dog for about 3 rounds of breath, or releasing those knees down and taking a child's pose, a pose of rest, or a pose of any other little movements you'd like to make. And then from child's pose, let's return to downward facing dog. We'll step the feet a little bit closer together. Inhale, left leg floats back and up. Exhale, round through the spine, really pull it in. And then step or carrot in between the hands, set up for warrior 2 on this side. Pull the hips underneath you. And then rising to your warrior 2, maybe with some assistance of the hand onto the left thigh. And then inhale, reverse. Exhale, side angle pose. The depth is up to you. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, side angle. Inhale, reverse. And then exhale, side angle. Hold here just for a moment. Feel the power of this pose. Feel the work of that left leg pulling in to keep the left thigh parallel to the long edge of the mat. And then let's slowly release the top arm down as you bend both knees and come into your rainbow warrior. So your right toes, your back toes will turn out a little bit. And you'll feel just a mild sensation on that front left inner leg to your comfortable point. You can come up a little bit higher, even use the support of your arm onto that thigh. Let's start to bend both knees, come to center, square the toes. Inhale, find some length, and then exhale, fold it forward. And then if your hands can comfortably settle onto the mat, maybe you're drawing your arms kind of back behind you with the fingertips pointing behind you, reaching to a comfortable point. So the arms are relatively straight, reaching under and through your legs. Energize through the legs. Move the weight more towards the balls of the feet. And then without moving the feet, it's as if you're trying to move your feet towards each other. So really energizing through those legs. Breathing here. Remember, these are just all options. And then walk those hands back underneath you. Soft bend in those knees. Let's walk it back to face towards the top of the mat. Runner's lunge. With the left hand down, we'll reach the right arm up. Move the shoulders down. Coming into that twist. And then let's take the right hand down. Engage through those core muscles. Draw that right thigh as high and as you can. Reach it back and up, 3-legged dog. And then release, right foot down. Either stay here if you want that extra energy, flow through your vinyasa. Or skip. And then when you get there, let's inhale, lift those heels. Exhale, release those knees down. Come into a kneeling position, or you can have yourself in a more comfortable seated position and take a moment here. Tops of the feet can press into the mat, or if you want that little extra stretch for the feet and the toes, curl those toes under and just take a moment. And then let's draw our hands back behind us, and we'll take With the right hand a little bit further back from the right hip, draw the shoulders down. And so you'll get just a tiny little twist of the shoulders over to the right. And think of opening, lifting. Maybe this left arm comes up. Maybe your hips stay onto your heels, or maybe you're squeezing through the inner thighs, energizing through the legs, lifting the hips up. Feeling the work of those thigh muscles and the inner thighs. And then let's slowly release down and over to the other side. So left hand a little bit back behind you. You can stay onto the fingertips or on the palm of the hand. Slight little turn of the shoulders to the left. Maybe staying here, getting that lift of the chest, maybe lifting the arm, maybe lifting the hips. So find what works best for you. Find your Ujjayi breath. And then let's slowly release it on down. Inhale, let's draw both arms forward and up. And then exhale, interlace fingers kind of the weird way, or the opposite way if you remember from the last time. And relax those shoulders down. Tighten up through the core. Take an inhale, find a little lift. And then exhale, just the head leans back. Widen through the elbows to a comfortable point. Remember, if it doesn't feel good on the shoulders, feel free to just take a moment with the arms down and the head in neutral. And then let's use our hands to upright the head and slowly release those arms all the way down. Let's walk it forward back to downward facing dog. Where we'll take an inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, make your way to the top of the mat, coming into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Bend those knees, sink those hips. Let's come into our chair pose. Move the shoulders down, tighten up through the core so we're lengthening the tailbone down and breathing here. Take an inhale, and then as you exhale, draw the hands to your heart center. Inhale, think of lengthening the spine, and then exhale, twist to the right. So either hands onto the outside of the right thigh. If you are going more into a low chair, you can hook the elbow, and remember, try to keep the heart at a higher height than the hips. Let's start to transfer the weight into our right leg and step the left foot back. So coming into that crescent prayer twist. Taking a moment here. Remember, back knee can be down. And then let's slowly unwind. Reach those hands down onto the mat. If your back knee is lifted, go ahead and lift it up. And then let's come into a warrior two position with those feet. Pull those hips underneath you. And then as you're ready, circle it on up. And then straighten that front leg. Let's reverse our triangle. And then come into triangle pose. Draw those hips back. Reach it forward and down to a comfortable point. Find that lift of the chest, the length in the spine. Maybe you're staying here if you want a little bit more. Finding your Ujjayi breath. Working that sideways, working the core, working those legs too. So feel you're really grounding your feet down into the mat, into the earth, and getting some good energy rebound back up. Let's softly bend through the right knee and upright, come back to warrior two. Straighten the legs, all 10 toes to the long edge of the mat. Take an inhale, and then exhale, come into your forward fold. For this one, I'm going to stay a little bit higher. Let's release the hands onto the mat. So bend those knees as much as you need to reach the hands to the mat. Let's walk it over to the back of the mat. Let's keep the right hand down, just coming into that twist. And if it's okay to lean it a little bit back behind you, you can. Just be careful of the shoulders, a mild sensation. Take that left hand down and then use the core to keep that left thigh engaged as high as you can into the chest as you step it back. Maybe stretch it back into three-legged dog and then foot down. Maybe you're staying here, maybe you're taking a child's pose, maybe if you want a little bit more heat, you're flowing through your vinyasa. And then when you get to downward facing dog, let's set the feet a little bit closer together. And then let's start to bend those knees, look forward, and make your way to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release, bend those knees, sink those hips. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, shoulders down. So find that really steadiness in chair. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale to lift. Exhale, hinge forward at the hips. Come into your prayer twist. Either hands just to the outside of the left leg, or you can hook the elbow, lowering those hips. Let's transfer the weight into the left leg and then step that right foot back, adjusting so the feet are at least hip bone distance apart. And then finding your prayer crescent twist here. And then let's slowly release. Place the hands down. And then step your feet into Warrior Two stance. And then when you're ready, let's rise on up. Land in Warrior Two. Straighten the left leg. Reverse our triangle. And then come into triangle pose. So initiate from the hips, reach it as far forward as you can. Remember to adjust the stance of the feet. So if you need to walk that back foot forward, you can. Reach as far as you can. Lengthen through the sideways, through the spine. And then let's just change the arms. And breathing here, maybe more energizing, more relaxing. So find what works best for you. Maybe a little bit of both if that feels good. And then let's come out of the pose, bend through that left knee, come back to Warrior Two. Straighten the left leg, all 10 toes, point to the long edge of the mat. Inhale to lift, softly bend the knees. Exhale, release down. Let's walk our hands over to one ankle, maybe your right ankle, as you bend through the left knee. So get kind of that little side lunge. And then let's come back through center over to the other side. So we're bending the knee, the opposite leg that we're holding on to. And then let's come back to center, soft bend in both knees, hands down. Walk it so you're facing back to the top of the mat. Simple twist, right arm up, maybe lean it a little bit back if that feels good. So this is a stretch, but also still exploring. We're always exploring our bodies in each of the poses. And then let's take right hand down, engage through the belly, shift it back. Maybe three-legged dog. Maybe vinyasa if you'd like, or just relaxing in your downward facing dog or child's pose. Ooh. And then when we get back, let's rest those knees. Let's sit it back in child's pose. Taking a few deep rounds of breath here. So feel the body start to kind of settle, slow down. Maybe it's a little subtle rock left and right of those hips. And then let's slowly, let's come into our camel pose. So you can come through hands and knees. You can curl the toes under, have those knees about hip bone distance apart, or you can have the feet flat onto the mat, whatever is most comfortable. We did a lot of stretching for those toes today. And then let's rise on up. Feel free to put extra padding underneath the knees, and if this pose doesn't feel good on the knees, then feel free to just come into a comfortable seated position and just work on opening up through the chest. Let's place our hands back behind us, so the heels of the hands are kind of at the top of the buttocks, fingertips pointing down, elbows in, and then we'll use our hands to just very gently guide the flesh of your bottom down. So we're lengthening up, and then feel a little zippering effect along the front of the belly. Take an inhale, elbows draw towards each other, and then exhale. Maybe it's just the head looking up, or maybe you're thinking about a little upper back bend from the shoulder blades. And then while your hands are here, just notice if your bottom is really tensing up. See if you can relax those muscles. And breathing. So supported camel pose, elbows drop back. Remember, just going to a point that feels good. And then let's slowly upright. Release into child's pose. And then from child's pose, let's come back to our tabletop pose. And then from tabletop, let's walk our hands a little bit over to the left, just enough so we could either heel toe or gently swing your right foot up so it's to the outside or along the outer edge of the mat, and then walk the hands back, coming into our lizard pose. So you can step the knee back. So there are a lot of options in lizard pose to stretch the hips. You can have it more relaxed. You can start to draw that right knee a little bit over to the right as you come onto the outer edge of the right foot if that feels good. If you want more of a deeper stretch, then you can come into your single pigeon pose by carefully heel toeing that right foot over to the left hand, flexing through the foot, and then releasing. But remember, make sure the joints are happy. And if you do have a space between your right buttock and the mat, you can just slide a pillow or any type of support. And maybe for this one, you're staying up tall. Make sure you feel supported so we're not just hanging loose. Or if you'd like, maybe you're coming forward. So find what works best for your body. We are in our grounding poses, so we do want to feel kind of that sensation of being relaxed and getting that mild sensation of a stretch. And if you have even more pillows or props, you can use them underneath your forearms or your forehead. So find the pose that works best for your body, where your joints are happy and you're getting that mild sensation of a stretch. And just a couple more rounds of breath here. So to come out of the pose, if you're in your single pigeon pose, come back onto your hands. You can remove that pillow out from underneath. And if you'd like, you can just gently slide that right leg back towards you and come through to tabletop. If you're in your lizard pose, you can walk your hands over to the left and then heel toe or slowly swing that right knee to meet the other. And then let's move over to the other side. Walk the hands over to the right, just to give some clearance. So you can slowly, carefully draw that left foot forward to the outside of the mat and then walk the hands back forward. And maybe you're staying in lizard pose. Or if you would like to come into single pigeon, carefully heel toe that left foot to the right hand, flex through the foot, and then softly release down, placing a support underneath that left buttock. And then finding your hip stretch. Maybe you're staying nice and tall for this one. So just feel how your body is. And breathe. Find that Ujjayi breath. Remember, when you come into our grounding poses, after a few rounds of breath, or it feels like your body can, as you're opening up and go a little bit deeper, you can, but you might need to back off too. So just find what works best for you. Our stretches should be a pleasant sensation, so it should never be too aggressive. And let's just take a couple more deep rounds of breath here. And then when you're ready, let's find our way back to our tabletop pose. Or if you're in your single pigeon, you can slowly draw the leg back towards you. So whatever is most comfortable and safe. Let's inhale Into little cow pose. Exhale, round into cat. Come back to neutral. Draw the hips off to one side. Sweep those legs forward. And then we'll inhale, sweep those arms forward and up. And then exhale, fold it forward. And you can round through the spine. Keep those toes pointing up. Get one more stretch for the backs of the legs. And then as you're ready, let's walk ourselves back up. Bend through those knees. So let's draw the feet so they're flat onto your mat. And let's roll it down the spine. And then come into your twist of choice. Maybe you're straightening the left leg and drawing the right knee in and then twisting, or maybe you're hugging both knees in. Whatever feels good, but feel supported in the pose. Keep the shoulders relaxed onto the mat. And then as you're ready, let's go over to the other side. Remember, just a comfortable, easy twist, something that feels good on your body where you do feel supported. And then let's slowly come back to center. Let's draw the inner knees together, relax those arms out by the side. Just take a moment here. And then maybe you are staying here for your final pose of Shavasana. If it feels good to stretch the legs long, you can separate the feet wider than the hips. Let's take a deep breath in. Exhale out the mouth. Feel your body relax into your mat. I will be playing the sound of wind chimes. So enjoy these next few minutes of your Shavasana. And slowly begin to deepen your breath. Sense a movement into your fingers, into your toes. On the next inhale, you could stretch the arms either up to the ceiling or over your head. Get a nice stretch. And as you exhale, let's draw the right knee into the chest, followed by the left. Maybe lift the hips or rock left and right if that feels good. And then slowly, let's roll on to one side and press your way up to a comfortable seat, head coming up last. And then when you get there, let's draw the palms of the hands together at our heart center. And recall that intention or dedication that you set at the beginning of your practice. Then let's stack the hands atop our heart and take a moment to feel gratitude to yourself for coming to your practice or for whatever you are grateful for in your life. Let's draw the hands back together at your heart. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through your practice today. As always, it is a privilege and a joy. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and stay cool in this hot weather, and we'll see you next time.